Today we are going to buy a small cherry basket bag. The bottom is a general tutorial for ordinary vegetable baskets. I bought a row of cherries every 3 lines. What if you want a greater effect? We can hook more circles at the bottom of the bag. First, we put 2 rings on our fingers. Crochet penetration. Crochet 3 standing needles. Then the crochet is wound. We continue to crochet 2 long needles. Then crochet 2 braid needles. A crochet is wound to knit 3 long needles in a loop. Then crochet 2 braid needles. A crochet is wound to knit 3 long needles in a loop. Then crochet 2 braid needles. A crochet is wound to knit 3 long needles in a loop. Then hook a braid needle. What about the last group? What about the last group? We just need to knit a braid needle. Then we put it where the coil opens. We can see that there are 2 segments here. We pull this inside. Tension of time. Then pull the thread outside. After tightening, the needle lifting ring shrinks. Then we found the 3 braid pins we first set up. The 3rd braid needle of the braid is threaded outward from the center of the braid. This position is where we want to pull out the last needle. Junior college education. The winding goes through the hole. Crochet a medium long needle. So the first lap is over. Then we knit the 2nd circle. Start the 2nd lap with 3 braid pins. Then the crochet is wound. We're in the big hole in front. Put it in. Crochet a long needle. Then crochet 3 long needles one by one. The first stitch is crochet. In the painful eye that just hooked a medium long needle. Then there are 2 needle holes left behind. We knit a long needle in each stitch. After 3 long needle hooks are woven, we knit 2 long needles in the big hole in front. Then hook up 2 braid needles. Then we went to the other side to wind the wire. Hook and weave 2 long needles in the big hole. Then the crochet is wound. We crochet 3 long needles in the middle. The first hole was covered by the previous long needle. In this position, we must not forget to tick. After 3 long needle hooks are woven, we came to the big hole in front. Hook 2 long needles in the big hole. We'll hook up such an edge. Then crochet 2 braid needles. We turn to the other side. Above. Continue to crochet 2 long needles in the big hole. Follow the previous tick method. Finish the 2 sides. We are now at the end of the 2nd lap. Then hook and weave 2 long needles in the big hole. Then tell a braid pin. Then the crochet wound into our third. Gilly reel face. 2 or 3. Crochet a medium long needle. So we finish the second lap. Then we knit the third circle. At the beginning of 3 laps, we set up 3 standing pins. Then the crochet is wound. Hook a long needle into the first big hole. Then the crochet is wound. Our first lap is in the middle. Well, no, the reduced part. From 1, 2, 3 in the first circle to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the second lap. Because among us, there are 3 needles that do not increase or decrease. Then he added 2 stitches to the left and right. It's 7 now. The next A is the machine needle. Then the third circle, that is, adding 2 stitches to the left and right is equal to change from the needle in the second circle to third lap. 11 stations. Then we come to the 7 needle heads in front. For each needle mesh, each stitch hook weaves a long needle. 1-to-1 crocheting. After 7 long needle hooks are woven, we came to the big hole ahead. We knit 2 long needles in the big hole. 1. After 2 long needle hooks are woven, we crochet 2 braid needles. Then add a needle to the side. We just finished a few needles. Count as a needle. After a few needles, add a few needles and hook out a long needle. This is even 2 shots. The middle part is 7 stitches without adding or subtracting. Well, then 2 more stitches were added here. There are 11 stitches now. Then, let's tell the other side. On the other side, we are also in this big hole. Zine told me 2 long needles. We all have the same hook method in the back. We use this hook method. Finish 3 or 4 laps. The 4th circle goes to the end. We're in the big hole ahead. Hook 2 long needles. Then crochet a variant needle. Crochet winding. Come to the 3rd standing needle. Buy a medium long needle inside. Then hook the 5th circle. Lift 3 standing pins. Each needle is wound to hook and weave a long needle in the large hole in the front. In the 5th row, we're going to hook the cherry part. First, let's hook and weave 5 long needles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we bring in the red line. Personal winding. Into the next hole. Hook and weave 4 unfinished long stitches in the same stitch. Once. Twice. 3 times. 4 times. After purchase, let's change the white line. Hide the thread. Crochet winding pulls out all coils at once. Then we came to the next needle. Continue to crochet 3 long white needles. Then change the red line. We continue to buy cherries. The crochet is wound into the next stitch. Hook the unfinished medium and long stitches 4 times. Then change the white line. Pull the coil out at one time. The second cherry is hooked. Then the crochet wound to the end of the next needle. Crochet 5 long needles. After 5 long needle hooks are woven, let's cut the red line. Then the crochet is wound and hooked in the big hole in the front. Weave 2 long needles. Then crochet 2 braid needles. So we went to the other side. Then continue to crochet 2 long needles in the big hole. Then hook 5 long needles and start hooking cherries. The other 3 sides are the same as our first one. The side hook method, as like as 2 peas. Let's finish this circle by ourselves. Circle hook. Let's hook the 6th lap. In the 6th circle, first hook 3 standing needles. Then hook and weave 2 long needles in the big hole in front. Then we knit 19 long stitches without adding or subtracting. There's no cherry for 6 laps. We can just hook according to the hook method in the previous circles. After 6 loops of hook weaving, we began to crochet the 7th lap. First set up 3 braid pins. We find the most central stitch on each side. Mark it with a marking buckle. Then we continue to crochet. First hook in the big hole in front. Weave a long needle. Then continue to tell the 9 long needles. After 9 long needle hooks are woven, we're in the 10th hole. Keep an unfinished long needle. Then the empty needle is not high. Crochet an unfinished long needle inside a mark buckle needle. Then skip a stitch and don't tick. Crochet an unfinished long needle in the next stitch. Crochet winding. Pull all the coils on the crochet at one time. Then, continue to tell the 9 long needles. After a long needle hook is woven, we continue to hook in the big hole in front. Weave 2 long needles. Then crochet 2 braid needles. Then we turn to the other side. The other 3 edges are the same as the first edge hook method. Then we finish this circle. After the 7th circle is hooked, we began to crochet the 8th lap. Start with 3 braids. Then we went to the place where 3 stitches and 1 stitch were in the last circle. Buckle a mark, buckle this needle. Is the center of each of our sides. Then, the crochet winds the thread and hooks a long needle in the big hole. Then hook 9 long needles. Then in the 10th needle, crochet an unfinished long needle. Skip a stitch is not high. Crochet an unfinished long needle at the marked buckle position. Then skip a needle. It's not high. Crochet an unfinished long needle in the next stitch. Crochet winding. Pull all the coils on the crochet at one time. Then hook 9 long needles. The next few edges have the same hook method as the first edge. After the 8th loop is woven, let's crochet. 9th lap. First, crochet 3 braid needles. Then hook and weave a long needle in the big hole in front. Then the crochet is wound. Crochet 2 long needles. Then we took out the red line. Hook 4 unfinished long stitches in the next stitch. Then change the white line. One time pull out. Hook winding. 3 long stitches are crocheted in the middle. Then change the red line. Continue to buy a cherry. Change the white line. Pull out all coils at once. Then the crochet is wound to knit 2. Long march. We found 3 stitches in the middle and 1. Mark it with a marking buckle. Next, crochet an unfinished long needle in the next stitch. Skip a stitch, and do not take the marked button eye. Weave an unfinished long needle with the inner hook. Then skip a stitch and don't tick. Crochet an unfinished long needle in the next stitch. Crochet winding pulls out all coils at once. Then crochet 2 long needles. Then change the red line. In the next needle, set aside a cherry. Then change the white line. One time pull out. The middle part is crocheted with 3 long needles. Then change the red line. Buy a cherry. Then change the white line. One time pull out. Bye-bye. Then crochet 2 long needles. Then in the big hole in front, hook 2 long needles. Then hook up 2 braid needles. We turn to the other side. The other side is the same as the one in front of us. The row of side hooks is the same. Then we'll hook this circle. After we hook up this row of cherries, continue to tick 3 blank lines. Then we'll have a row of cherries. 3 blank rows. Hook up like this. Just hook it to the right height. Let's start with the 5th line in the bag. Count a row of cherries and 3 rows of blank lines. This is a group. 2 groups. 3 groups. We checked out 3 groups. Then our bag will be hooked. We hooked a drawing needle with the first needle. Then tail A. Stand up. Cut the thread. Let's fold the bag in half. Find a more beautiful side as our front. Let's start wrapping from a random position on the side. Bring in the red line. Binding, we are straight to pick the outer half of the needle. First, crochet a standing needle. Then stand up. The needle hooks a short needle from the moving eye. This is the first stitch. Next, crochet a short needle. Then we reach the inflection point, where 3 stitches go together. Let's knit a 2-stitch into stitch here. The other place is in each hole. Just a short needle. Where's the inflection point? This highest point is in the same mobilization. Weave 3 short needles. Then we were somewhere else. Buy a short needle in each hole. We follow this hook method. Wrap up the rest. Next we started buying bags. At least we locked the needle. A total of 53 braided needles. After 53 braid needle hooks are woven, we return to the penultimate stitch. Crochet a long needle. Then we continue to crochet 49 long needles. After 49 long needle hooks are woven, we crocheted a standing needle. Cut the thread. Throw and hide first. Then we put it in the first braid on the side, with a red line. Give it a loop of short stitches. Just buy a short needle in each mobilization. Purchase to the end. We bought a standing needle. Cut the thread. Another side. Wrap a circle of edge wrapping tape in the same way. We knit 2 pieces of silk by hook.